Hey everyone, welcome back to ARTV. My name is John and it's time for your weekly dose of 7 on Sunday. Today I'm going to be injecting you with the episode theme, 7 bands that perform in costumes or masks. The idea of performing in a full costume or perhaps a different wardrobe or a face of makeup, a mask, is something that dates back to centuries ago. The theater would make use of this technique, think along the lines of perhaps Shakespeare or even the Phantom of the Opera and that infamous mask. Now, updated for modern times, we see that performing arts go hand in hand with music because there is that performance element that is expected of a band. Now, some bands have made use of the fact that they go out in a mask or perhaps a full-on wardrobe, a theme that they stick to depending on the album cycle that they're in, and that's what we're talking about today. This is only for bands, no solo artists. We have bands, duos, or groups. And of course, not everyone could make the list because this is 7 on Sunday, so I'm sorry in advance that you won't see some of the legends like Kiss on here. I tried to mix it up a little bit and go for some of my personal favorites. I do hope that you enjoyed the episode. Please drop a like on it if you do. It greatly helps support the channel, and subscribe for the love of music. For many people that grew up in the late 2000s or the early 2010s, hearing the phrase bands in masks was synonymous with the band Hollywood Undead. The HU crew built up their name and image on the social media site MySpace in the late part of the 2000s, growing to worldwide fame after the release of their record Swan Songs, which is actually certified platinum in the US. The band's masks always felt integral to who they were and the movement that fans felt they were a part of on their rise to fame. The masks they wear are crafted by makeup effects artist Jerry Constantine, although the members themselves actually come up with the designs. With Hollywood Undead, the mask designs always rotate based on the album cycle that they're in or perhaps the era that they're going through. For example, the ones from Desperate Measures look quite different from what we saw on Day of the Dead. They certainly drew inspiration from other bands that came before them when it came to the masks, but to them, it felt like less of a full-on character for the stage and more like an extension of each of the members' personalities. I definitely don't love everything Hollywood Undead do musically, although I feel I would be amiss to not include them on this list. They definitely have songs that I truly do enjoy, or perhaps even really like in some instances. I felt like a total badass back my senior year of high school, 2009, when one of my friends actually attempted to make me the mask of J-Dog from the Swan Song cycle. I threw that on and I was on top of the world, there's no denying it. There's something to be said for a group that can entertain both kids and adults, and I feel that the ska rock band the Aquabats have done a great job of keeping a foot in both worlds. The Aquabats formed in 1994, building up a cult following through touring and via those that love their comedic superhero backstory. Each member had an exclusive Aquabat rank and name, with none other than Travis Barker, aka the Baron Von Tito, famously being a former member of the group. After some major changes in the 2000s that left only 2 original members in the band, they decided to drop some of the complicated backstory and focus on reigniting their career. They simply told fans that they were superheroes out traveling the world fighting crime and, quote, destroying boredom. After years of trying, they finally got their own family-friendly TV show, The Aquabats Super Show, that premiered on the Hub Network in 2012. Sadly, it only lasted 2 seasons, but it's worth checking out if you've got kids or if you're a kid yourself. I discovered the Aquabats when I was around 10 or 11, and Pizza Day is without a doubt one of the most played songs of my childhood. The superhero costume identity is fun for live shows. It's something that the fans feel that they can get invested in, and if you can look past even that and boil it down to just the music, then some of that is actually pretty catchy and fun if you can push aside some of the cheesiness. The tone certainly shifts for my number 5 selection, Pussy Riot, a protest art punk outfit from Russia that features a revolving door lineup of more than 10 different women. You've probably heard their name or seen some of the balaclavas that cover their faces, but you might not realize just how deep their legal troubles have gone because of their unwillingness to cooperate with the corrupt Russian government. To say that Pussy Riot have been outspoken is probably the understatement of the century. These women don't don ski masks as a form of fashion, but often as a way to hide their identities and avoid further run-ins with the law. The members spent time in jail in 2013 after years of protesting and confrontations with the government. Their voices were heard, but silence was brought down as they spent time behind bars. Eventually, the arrested members were released in December of 2013, and since then, they've continued to infrequently post songs online and protest against movements that they feel passionate about. Pussy Riot have certainly never gone the traditional route. We're not looking at albums and EPs really, we're looking at one-off singles, and to be quite honest, the band's music has never really struck me that much, although I do really like some of their songs like Bad Apple and Police State. Their extreme views consistently land them in trouble, and while I definitely don't agree with everything that they say and everything that they stand for, not in all cases at least, I definitely respect the hell out of their right, at least it should be their right, to do so. The robot helmet wearing French electronic music duo Daft Punk graced the list at number 4 because, of course, they're gonna make the list. It's Daft Punk, come on! Guy Manuel and Thomas Bangalter are the two halves, and they've appeared in robotic-type outfits since the release of their debut album Homework in 1997. You probably don't need me to tell you, but that album was like super successful and pioneered a spot for electronic music in the mainstream. As their musical style evolved and shifted over the years, so did the helmets. These had the ability to be programmed with lights and messages during live sets, making it fun and engaging for fans who shelled out cash to see them play. The duo eventually admitted in a rare 2013 interview around the release of Random Access Memories that the robot helmets do make it more exciting for people, and that it's not simply a marketing gimmick done to get more people talking about them. Daft Punk's music speaks for itself. The concealed identity is simply another way to enjoy the image surrounding them. Might I say that those helmets do look fine as hell on them. I mean, just look at them, silver and gold, standing there all paired up with the suits. If only I had a slice of that sense of style. Up until 2017, relatively little was known about the actual identities of the Swedish metal band Ghost, and that's exactly what the band's leader, who we now know as Tobias Forge, wanted. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Who the hell are Ghost? Why are they parading around with face paint, elaborate costumes, and robed instrumentalists? Ghost came to life in 2006, although it wasn't until the fall of 2010 that their first record released. People started paying attention to the band, 1, due to how great the music was sounding, but 2, and arguably more importantly, because of the way that Ghost presented themselves as a theatrical spectacle that needed to be seen live in person. I'll never forget my first experience with Ghost. They opened for Avenged Sevenfold, and my friends and I had traveled to see them and had pit tickets. I had no clue who they actually were since we were there for Avenged, and I hadn't had a chance to check out their music, so I was slightly terrified when this demonic pope-looking dude came out on stage and started pointing in my direction like he was about to steal my soul. Without a doubt, they make an impression, and we now know for certain that the different characters such as Papa Emeritus and Cardinal Copia are portrayed by Tobias Forge. It's all in the Ghost multiverse, if you will, and is intentionally switched up every few years to keep things from getting stale. The ghouls absolutely kill it in a live setting, as does Cardinal Copia. They put on a show that perhaps makes you forget about the world around you for just a moment. You slip into the world of Ghost, perhaps their purgatory that's somewhere in between heaven and hell. Coming in at number 2, everything we've seen up to this point might feel a bit like a child's bike with training wheels when you compare it to Gwar, a heavy metal and at times comedically tinged band that have been active for the past 35 years. I'm not quite sure if I would be qualified to talk about Gwar if I had never actually experienced one of their sets live, but fortunately for me, my manager at the movie theater that I worked at when I was 19 dragged me to one of their sets after a year of hyping them up to me, and I was a bit speechless. Low-key, I didn't know what to say or expect, and then it happened, and I was just like, wow, this is like nothing else on the planet. Gwar themselves each have a distinct character they play, and even when someone leaves the group, the character lives on through a different musician, with Odaris Urungus played by Dave Brockie being the exception. R.I.P. Dave, you were definitely a leader and certainly had a one-of-a-kind vision for music. Back to happier trails, the metal underdogs have sported a rabid cult-like fan base over the past 4 decades. Their live shows feature the band in their immaculate and outlandish attire, with props being added like fake dicks or body parts that squirt fake blood out all over the audience. It's certainly not for the faint of heart, I wouldn't think, but if Gwar ever rolls through your city, I would definitely recommend going to see them, because they won me over in concert even though I'm not a huge fan of the actual music. Consistently staying consistent with both their musical output and their mask designs, Iowa-based heavy metal band Slipknot topped my list today. The timeline of events for Slipknot is kinda crazy when you take a peek into it, as they gained so much attention and fame within just a few years of forming the band. A lot of you watching might be aware that they wear masks, but don't know how it all started. From what I can gather through watching early interviews with the band, Sean Crahan started bringing clown masks to rehearsals after the band formed, hence the now famous nickname, Clown. It's much more than just a nickname though, as by late 1997, before the release of their beloved self-titled debut album, the rest of the band started getting serious about assigning numbers and alternate aliases to every member of Slipknot. They took the world by storm with their reckless onstage antics and anti-commercial stance, topped off with a finger to the industry by wearing matching jumpsuits instead of following fashion trends. With each album cycle, the masks have changed and grown, although they retired the number system after the untimely death of member number 2, the Pig, Paul Gray. Slipknot have done a fantastic job at persisting and coping despite that huge loss and the subsequent lineup changes that they've been thrown, with their current masks as of 2019 being among the most badass I've ever seen. Although I'm not at all a metalhead, I've always loved this band a whole lot, and I think that adoration dates back to when I discovered them in 2006, and I just really loved the image that they presented, the overall vibe. They're menacing as hell, they put out mostly killer music, and at this point in my life, I can confidently say that they're one of my bucket list bands that I really want to see live. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of 7 on Sunday. Who would have known that masks is such a hard word to say? This episode took forever to film, so please drop a like on it for my sanity, subscribe for the love of music, and don't forget to check out our sponsor, Ridge Wallet. Thank you to them for supporting a smaller channel like this that needs the help of sponsors and of course patrons to keep going. You can check out the Ridge Wallet at the top, link in the description down below, and use my code ARTV for 10% off your order. If you want to see last week's episode of 7 on Sunday, then tap right over here, or tap here for another recent video I uploaded on the channel. All of my socials can be found in the description down below, and I'll see you soon for more right here on ARTV.